Okay,
well,
40.
Houston's going to have
35, but not
$60 million in
50.
space. Houston can do it.
Okay, you didn't let Houston do it because you ain't winning anytime soon. Okay, so go ahead, let them pay him, but you are the Philadelphia 76ers. The only way you can justify giving James Harden that money is if you win the chip.
Picture this. It's 2027 or something like that, and then James Harden comes back and signs a contract with the Houston Rockets to finish his career as a Rocket after winning a ring for the Philadelphia 76ers, beating the infamous "he's not a winner" allegations. Personally, I always thought that these allegations were pretty fraudulent, considering that my guy did take the Super Team Warriors to 7 with a roster that was nowhere near that of equal talent to them. I'll come right out and say this for James Harden. If I didn't know exactly how tied in that Harden was with the city of Houston, then maybe I would have doubted a potential return happening down the line. Harden had a ton of video game years with the Houston Rockets, and when I say video game, I really do mean video game. In 2019, Harden was doing things that were very impressive on a video game level, let alone real life. Harden was literally a one-man game breaker, and I loved every second of it. So why might I have doubted Harden's eventual return to the H? Well, that's because him and the Rockets ended on really bad terms. We all know about the trade demand that he made, Harden looking disinterested, the mysteriously weird weight gain, the trauma, the chaos, you name it, and it happened. Harden's departure from Houston was LA Fitness basketball ugly. There are even stories about Harden holding that franchise hostage during his time there. Harden's trade to Brooklyn rocked the NBA world. His trade to Philadelphia would do the same thing, and yet, here we are, now talking about his potential return to Houston. Some would say that the rumors are louder than they need to be, but maybe they're just loud enough. And we have to talk about that, but first, today's content is brought to you by PrizePicks. Guys, I have a huge announcement to make. That's definitely going to make you guys want to use code COOP if you haven't already. PrizePicks, just like the NBA, is stepping up their game for the playoffs, giving us an elite promo that will potentially give us the chance to win $1 million. What I love most about this is that it will be happening every single day of the playoffs. Here's how PrizePicks NBA Playoffs $1 million Superflex promo works. One entry placed after 8 a.m. Eastern Time will be randomly selected each day. If selected, their entry will be given a 6-pick flex with the following payouts. 6 correct picks equals $1 million. 5 correct picks equals $80,000, and 4 correct picks equals $16,000. You can literally get 2 picks incorrect and still walk away with life-changing money. The full details can be found at prizepicks.com/million. The catch is that you have to opt in at this link to be eligible for the $1 million entry. Once you opt in, all you have to do is play the game like normal and you could be the lucky winner. Remember to use code COOP when you sign up, guys, so that you could get your initial deposit instantly matched. At first glance, this report about James Harden mulling a free agency return to Houston was something that was hard to digest, and it really didn't make much sense to me until I thought about it. I mean, Joel Embiid's out here doing things like this.
Embiid, shake and bake.
That alone would be enough for me to stay. On top of Embiid just being a silly basketball player, the Sixers have only continued to pick up steam since these initial reports dropped. With reports like these, it's really impossible to know the truth, but at the very least, it's a great excuse to talk about what's potentially brewing in Houston, and the possibility of something like this even happening. Because as we all know, it's the NBA. Much weirder things have happened. Houston is a place that I know has a special place in his heart, and he looks at his home. Look, I know we are talking about an incredibly young Houston Rockets team that was in rebuild mode this past year. But thanks to that 2021 Harden trade, they do have some picks to make some moves this year if they want to be competitive, which they just might. Because after this year, their own pick situation gets a bit shaky. There are some very soft protections and swaps that make you just think to yourself, why not go for it and try to be good? There's always that chance that a 33 going on 34-year-old James Harden on the back end of his prime is exactly what the doctor ordered for the Houston Rockets. This whole idea makes for a very interesting situation because, I mean, how often do you see an NBA team trade their superstar to get plenty of young players and draft assets only to get that same superstar back years later? In Harden's case, this would be an interesting play, but would it be the best play? I truly can't say that it would. It really depends on what you value and what happens in the offseason. If there's one thing that Harden has made very clear over the past couple of years, it's that he values winning. To quote Harden, "I dream about winning a championship. I was so close a decade ago, so I remember the feeling of being on that stage. I need that again. It would mean the world to me to get one. I have a championship or bust mindset." Harden is currently in a situation where he has one of the top 5 players in the NBA in Joel Embiid. He has a bunch of quality role players and a player that's oozing with potential in Tyrese Maxey. If this guy stepped his game up and became a star, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Yeah, they're coached by Doc Rivers, but at the end of the day, the 76ers really do have some great pieces. And who knows, maybe Doc surprises us soon. What I'm trying to say is that this is a situation that most players probably don't leave in favor of a clearly struggling Houston Rockets team unless the bag was stupid and they couldn't get it anywhere else, especially if the mindset is a championship or bust. Let's look at this from the Rockets' perspective. What's the upside here? Well, personally, I think that it would be foolish for the Rockets to rule out bringing Harden back simply because they don't have to give up anything to get him. After all, this is James freaking Harden that we're talking about. Look at it like this. The Rockets need a true facilitator, and Point Harden just so happens to be leading the league in assists at 10.7 a game. Harden is that true facilitator. Maybe he's not in the middle of his prime or anything like that, but he's still an all-star quality player and somebody that's still capable of giving you monster performances like the 38-point, 10 assist and 9 rebound game that he had against Milwaukee, who had the 4th best defensive rating during the regular season. I'm just saying, the upside is definitely there. Hearing about all of this kind of reminds me of what's transpired with Chris Paul in the past few seasons. There were a lot of people that doubted Paul's ability and that he was still a high-level player when he left Houston. When he was traded for Russell Westbrook, everybody was talking about Russ, and I'm not mad at it, but nobody, and I repeat nobody, was talking about the impact that Chris Paul could have. There were some people that thought that Chris Paul's career was over, and they couldn't have been more wrong. Chris Paul took that young Thunder team and led them to the playoffs. Do I even need to mention his impact and what he's done for Phoenix? I know that Phoenix was already hot when they were in the NBA bubble, but it's hard to deny that Chris Paul helped to bring that franchise and team to another level. Book himself will give Chris his props, saying that iron sharpens iron. Sometimes all you need is that high-level vet to pull everything together and to be the glue that you don't have. James Harden could be that super glue for the Houston Rockets if they go out and make the right moves this offseason. I'm well aware that Harden isn't going to give us 36 points a game anymore like he did in the 2018-2019 season, but still, time and time again, he has proven to us that he can do more with less. Just think of the Silas-free Rockets running their offense through Baby Jokic Şengün or James Harden and defining the roles of Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. I just ripped off 3 guys with star potential who the Rockets would have the ability to run their offense through. Don't forget that the Rockets are also probably adding another high-level player in this year's draft if they don't decide to trade the pick. I only say that because I've seen some spooky stuff like they're interested in players like Jaylen Brown and Cam Johnson. Maybe I'm a bit delusional, but I do think that a quality coach, a few quality vets, and Harden could do wonders for this team. This team has had some dysfunction and poor leadership across the board that's led to their abysmal record, but they do have talent. Just ask John Wall if this team's talent needs some leadership and guidance. He said himself that the stuff that they were getting away with there, if they were on any other team, they'd be out of the freaking league. If I'm the Philadelphia 76ers, Losing James Harden while I have Embiid playing at this level would be among the worst case scenarios for us. But at the same time, you don't want to drastically overpay him while his production potentially falls off of a cliff. This is truly a tough situation to be in. While I wouldn't be too worried about a player leaving typically, some of these reports have me doing double takes. The initial reports about Harden and his inner circle weighing his options if he decides against Philadelphia really aren't too bad. The ones that are bad are the ones like this one that say it's now a foregone conclusion that James Harden is coming back to Houston. Quote, if you talk to anybody around the league, they'll be like, yeah, Harden's going back to Houston. To make matters worse or better depending on which side you're on, a Rockets insider placed a 70% chance on James Harden returning to Houston. Guys, in the comments below, what do you think of this entire situation? Do you see Harden potentially leaving the 76ers even though his chemistry with Embiid only seems to be growing? These two have one of the best connections in the entire association. It's really hard to see Harden leaving that, but as I stated earlier, weirder things have happened. What are your expectations for the playoffs? Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.